Hey, we are two Star Wars nerds, and finally we're
back.
We're back. Finally, we're getting back into the Clone Wars arcs, and today we're going to be talking about the Grievous Pursuit arc or the Deserter arc. All right, so this arc. So here's what we were doing.
Interesting.
We were going off of. I think we're talking about different things.
Well, I'm talking about, it's interesting trying to figure out what's in the arc and...
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
We're actually
the same thing.
We're actually talking about the same thing. So we were originally going off of somebody's Reddit post where they painstakingly went through every single episode in chronological order, put them into arcs.
Props to them.
Yeah, and that's a little clunky, the list we have. And so through some research, we actually found a better list that has standalone episodes and the arcs, and there's quite a bit of overlap with what we already had, so we're cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. All of that said, this was called the Deserter arc on the original list we had, and it included an episode called Lightsaber Lost.
And we couldn't figure out how it tied in.
There is no connection at all, and that's what prompted us to reevaluate this list. And so we may actually make another video about Lightsaber Lost, talking about that, but we're going to talk about the two episodes, Grievous, Intrigue, and the Deserter. And it's interesting, just a really high picture overview. I think the Deserter stands out, and sure. Everybody remembers Cut, but what ends up happening is this whole arc is really about pursuing Grievous. So it's interesting that kind of Cut steals the show. And it does feel a little conflicted because it's like supposed to be about Grievous, then it really becomes about Rex and Cut and the clones. But
I think it's cool because it gives a bigger picture of what's going on in the galaxy, even kind of like world building, but like building other characters and building out. We've seen the clones as warriors and fighters, and then just seeing a clone in a different atmosphere, but he still is a warrior, he still is a fighter, and he's just fighting in a different way and for a different purpose. So I think it's actually a really cool part of just the Star Wars galaxy at large. Yeah,
and you're so right. I think what makes Clone Wars arcs so successful is when it starts really grand in scale and then it goes way down to a little detail.
Yeah.
And I think the best arcs are the ones that do that, and this does do that. You know, it starts off big battles because Grievous takes East Koth, and it's basically just action. That's the whole first episode.
Action
is just good old the Clone Wars action. But then it's like, okay, well, Grievous does what Grievous does,
runs,
you know, and goes to the surface of the planet, and then the next episode is when it gets into the whole, like, you're looking for Grievous and people are separated, and then Rex is injured, and Rex finds Cut and is taken in, all this stuff, and his kids activate the battle droids or the assassin droids or whatever it was going on. But out of those two episodes, what's your favorite?
The Deserter's my favorite. I like
same.
Kind of how I said up front. I just like the different aspect of a clone in a different environment, but still seeing the similarities because they're clones. So they're designed one way, and that's still in him. Like I said before, it's just coming out in a different way, and he has a different purpose. But he's still a warrior. He's still a clone. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, and it brings in a very interesting concept of the clones wanting family, like that freedom of choice.
Right.
That's there, even though they're programmed, you know, for a certain thing. And you could say programmed, indoctrinated, brainwashed, whatever, you know, it depends on how you want to look at all that. But what I like about the Deserter, which is also my favorite out of the little duology here with these two episodes, I like the juxtaposition of war and family. Like, you have like a craziness of war, and then you have somebody slowing down and saying, I'm deserting all of that, and I'm choosing family.
Right.
And even Rex is forced to slow down. He can't do things the way he normally does, and that causes him to actually like put a pause on things. And like you said, then they still take care of their own, you know, and it's pretty cool.
And I think what's cool in the Deserter too is Cut is ashamed, I think, of that he did desert. Is that the right word?
Yep.
Okay. I started thinking about cookies.
You're like, oh,
dessert.
Cookies.
That Rex, or that Cut, is ashamed that he was a deserter. But then you kind of see that he's no less, and he kind of comes into owning who he is and not having to be forced into a specific mold.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got thrown off by cookies, so.
No, I mean your thought was concise and made sense. So to me, it's good.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for the deserter arc, the Grievous pursuit arc, whatever you want to call it, it's I guess we can go over ratings now. For me, it's not an amazing arc, but it's not bad either. It's good for me. The Cut is one of my favorite characters in the Clone Wars just because of his intrigue. I don't feel like he really gets enough screen time, and they really do him justice, but it kind of plays well to his character as well. But I would say for me, this is kind of right there. I mean, it's hard. Between a 6 and a 7 out of 10 for me, just because the whole kind of cat and mouse, I know that there is an actual episode called that, but the whole cat and mouse thing with Grievous does get a little old for me, when it's just action all the time. Like, I like when there's story and there's a little more depth added. Especially it's hard with Grievous in the Clone Wars because, like, I know, like, they build tension, but it's like, well, I know that, like, him and Anakin can't meet, and I know he has to live, and so it's like, I don't know. You have to kind of take it with a grain of salt and let that tension build. So episode 3 is a little stronger, but so that's kind of my rating. What about you?
No, I was thinking 6.5. So yeah, right.
Right there.
Right in there. But yeah, I think like you said, I wish Cut had more, but at the same time I don't, because it does fit his I guess arc and his character development. But I think he's a very cool character, and it's cool to see, like, the family, like you talked about, and just seeing, and I think it opened up Rex's eyes too, and it made Rex think and expand his his mind and everything too. Yes, we were designed to be warriors, but a warrior has different meanings, and Cut was no less of a warrior. I mean, we saw that in the episode. Yeah,
for sure. Cool. Well, let us know in the comments what you think about this arc. If you've made it all this way, you should join our Discord if you're not already in it. Essentially, we talk about this kind of stuff just more long form in the Discord with people, and there's a lot of cool stuff. We just talk about Star Wars and nerd out, and there's a ton of amazing content creators too that you'll get to see, because they all post, and Gonk auto posts for quite a bit of them as well. But yeah, with that, we are 2 Star Wars nerds, and may the Force be with you always.